Well, another entertaining match day in the Championship. There wasn't as many goals in this one, but certainly plots, lots going on. South Wales derby, we've got penalties at Burnley. We've got another win for Portsmouth and Leeds going top of the table again. We're going to kick things off at Turf Moor on Friday night. Burnley, Sunderland. James Trafford made a late double penalty save, keeping Wilson Isidore out twice to ensure a goalless draw at Turf Moor, keeping Burnley's unbeaten home record and move them level on points with Leeds United at the top of the Championship before Farker's side played on the Sunday. Now, Scott Parker named just one change from the last league outing against Blackburn Rovers, Lyle Foster coming into the 11 for Jeremy Sarmiento, as the remaining 10 starters all featured against Blackburn in their last league game. Enzo Lefebvre made his new Sunderland debut, having signed on loan from Roma last week. He was one of three changes for the Black Cats' last league match. Dennis Serkin also coming in for his 100th appearance for the club and an impressive 50th senior appearance for Chris Rigg at just 17 years old. Now, on to the match and the big moments in this one, of course, all related to the late penalties. The first one was certainly controversial. The contact looked well outside the penalty box and Burnley will feel justice was served with the first. Isidore hit powerfully to Trafford's right, but it was a savable height for the goalkeeper. It was then Isidore versus Trafford, part two, again deep into injury time, as Anthony Backhouse awarded a second penalty kick. Dennis Serkin brought down by substitute Oliver Son. The Burnley keeper was booked for time wasting. There was a lot of shenanigans making the take away with the treatment and delay. And then he got up and made the save down low for an incredible couple of minutes. Isidore will barely be able to understand what happened there. Two penalty misses, 0-0 it finished. Regis Lebris really will be scratching his head with this one, how his Sunderland team didn't score. Two penalties and some good chances, just not his team's night. These were the first spot kicks saved by Trafford since the 2023 European Under-21 Championship final, when he saved Abel Ruiz's effort in injury time when England defeated Spain. Scott Parker said in his post-match reaction, "It's a massive point for us in the scheme of where the game was. Two penalties, and the game could have looked very different if not for James Trafford and the saves he made. Not many words can describe what he's produced. I don't think I've been involved in a game like that one at the end." Regis Lebris said, "We created 5 or 6 chances, so we can be disappointed that we didn't score, but it shows that we can play a tough team away. Wilson is disappointed, like the team, but football is like that. You can make mistakes, but you have to learn from them. It's the best way to improve and grow. I'm sure he can put this behind him 100%. So Burnley have now kept 18 clean sheets in just 27 games this season. They have the best goals conceded per game rate by a team in a single season in English Football League history, not just this season, in history. 0.33 goals per game with just 9 in total. That remarkable defensive record continues and also ensures that they failed to score in 6 of their last 8 matches against Sunderland. More goals is clearly something that Claret fans will want to see more of, but it's like a force field in front of the Burnley goal at the minute, and the 2 missed penalties again shows it held strong at the weekend. Next up for Burnley, it's a midweek trip to Plymouth Argyle before another top-end clash against promotion rivals Leeds United. Sunderland have failed to win any of their last 6 away league games now against Burnley since a 2-0 win at Turf Moor back in 2005. Away form is just one thing that may halt Sunderland's promotion aspirations despite a superb season so far. They've only won one of their last 7 away league games, failing to score in 5 of those matches. It's Derby County away up next for Sunderland in midweek before they have a home fixture against Plymouth. Callum Robinson scored twice as Cardiff City took the South Wales derby win over Swansea City in what could be a huge victory for the Bluebirds. Hundreds of the home fans had marched to the stadium in protest against the club's owner before the match, but once inside, it was the fever atmosphere you would expect for a derby. Cardiff boss Omar Ritz has selected 8 of the same players who were selected in the draw against Watford on Tuesday night. The return of Callum Robinson was a huge boost after a 3-match ban, alongside captain Joe Rawls and Ollie Tanner on the wing. Ruben Colwell, Chris Willock and Perry Ng dropping to the bench. For Swansea, they saw a late fitness test for centre-backs Ben Cabango and Harry Darling pass to start at the back. Cabango coming in for Cyrus Christie, with Joe Allen also coming in the side to replace striker Zan Vapotnik, with Liam Cullen pushing up top. Now onto the match, and the first half was shy of chances for Swansea. Goncalo Franco blazing over from a half volley, while Cardiff had chances with a free kick, volleying at the keeper from Cardiff, Callum Chambers, probably the closest that the Bluebirds came. A second half, Tanner Cross found the chest of Callum Robinson going away from goal, and a wonderful swivelling left foot half volley found the bottom corner for the returning striker. Giving the home side the lead after just 73 seconds, just 4 minutes later, a careless back pass from Swansea saw Robinson pounce and fire a near post shot to double the trouble for the shell-shocked Swans. Dimitris Gautas put the icing on the cake with a storming header from a 67th minute corner, putting a 3-goal gap between the two sides and sending the home fans into rapturous celebration. Josh Key had Swansea's best chance heading just wide, but the result was well secure by the time a flashpoint on the touchline occurred. Reza, clashing with Franco, had to be restrained by his own players after a shove from the Swansea player. His reaction saw him sent off, but ultimately taking the 3 points in the South Wales derby. Statistic-wise, to score 3 goals from an expected goals of 0.68 for Cardiff just shows how good they were in front of goal, particularly the returning Robinson, who was a threat for the home side. Swansea's possession-style football was to be expected, but they were punished by a Cardiff team who scored more than 2 goals in a championship match for just the second time this season. Alex Robertson's assist from the corner supported a strong 8.4 rating from the sofascore.com performance. You can see that online. But it was Robinson who took man the match as he takes his championship goal tally this season now to double figures. Now, the post-match reaction for Cardiff had to come from their assistant coach, Tom Ramasusa, I believe his name is. He said, "We went into half-time and there was a momentum growing in our favour. You could just sense in the dressing room there was a real momentum and real belief going into the second half. If you show the fight and togetherness, then we have plenty of quality to win the game. That's exactly what Callum Robinson did with some unbelievable touches to finish." Now, Luke Williams said for Swansea, "I feel very disappointed that we started the game fine and then the performances just evaporate, fall off the edge of a cliff. That's really upsetting, really worrying, and I believe it's the occasion. So many players suffered so badly and got worse as the game went on. I imagine it's a lot to do with the atmosphere. I think the opposition could feel that and did a brilliant job to heap pressure on us when we felt weak." So Cardiff City won their second successive home league match against their local rivals for the first time since December 1985. It's their biggest win in this fixture for 60 years. Goals scored have been a challenge all season for the Bluebirds, with Robinson, of course, their most important threat in that regard, as Reza sees Cardiff jump outside the relegation zone for the first time since before Christmas. Next match-up for Cardiff is a visit to the Den to face Millwall before they host Derby County. Swansea City had won 5 of their last 7 league games against Cardiff, scoring 15 goals in total during that time, also keeping 4 clean sheets in the process. But this was certainly not the case today. Nothing hurts like a derby loss, as 3 back-to-back losses for Swansea on the road has halted hopes of a playoff finish at the moment. They'll want to rectify the situation soon, or they could be looking worryingly over their shoulder. The Swans face a tough fixture back at home on Tuesday. Sheffield United, the visitors, before an away championship match against Norwich City next Saturday lunchtime. Hull City picked up a much-needed victory at Millwall, jumping out of the relegation zone thanks to a fortunate Jake Cooper deflection from a Regan Slater cross. In a fairly non-eventful game, it was a much-needed win for Ruben Sellers' side, while Millwall are sliding worryingly down the table. Now, Millwall boss Alex Neil made a triple change from the side that beat Dagenham and Redbridge 3-0 in the FA Cup third round last weekend. Duncan Watmore and George Saville coming in, while 19-year-old Liverpool loanee Callum Scanlon making his first start for the club. Femi Aziz not in the squad after limping off in that FA Cup game. Now, for Ruben Sellers, he made 3 changes from the FA Cup following defeat on penalties to Doncaster. Skipper Louis Coyle returning to the side, as well as Alfie Jones and Mason Burstow. Cody Drammer and Harry Vaughan dropping to the bench. Veteran winger Nordin Amrabat straight into the squad as well after signing for Hull until the end of the season the day before, as does Leeds loanee Joe Gelhardt. Now, into the match, and a goalless first half was no surprise given that host Millwall started the day as the joint lowest scoring team in the Championship this season with 24 goals, 1 fewer than any of their similarly goal-shy opponents. A lack of quality in the final third became clear in the game full of endeavour but littered with stoppages and free kicks. The key moment of the game came when Regan Slater drilled a ball across the face of the goal, which rebounded back off Cooper and beat keeper Lucas Jensen. It was an unlucky way to concede for Millwall, but the home side were unable to respond as the Tigers took the win. Now, a game devoid of quality just saw 3 shots on target all afternoon, with Millwall only registering 1 of their 12 shots on target for a poor shot on target percentage of just 8%. Off the back of selling Romain Esse and Femi Aziz missing as well, it's difficult for Millwall to look the same threat in front of goal. Hull was similarly flat in front of goal despite the win, but for them, taking an away win in the Championship, especially considering their situation, has to be cherished. Post-match, Alex Neil said, ultimately the game got decided on a cross that hit one of our lads' heels and deflected in at the front post, and it ended up being the winning goal. We're stretched at the top end of the pitch. I think that anybody can see this. Ruben Sellers said about Hull, it's difficult always to come here and try and perform. We had some phases that we controlled the game and created situations when we should go in front. My team showed that they can play in defensive scenarios and still be powerful, aggressive, and win football matches. Now, Millwall now have failed to win in any of their last 6 league games against Hull City, failing to score in 5 of those matches. After a stronger mid-portion of this season, things are turning in a difficult direction. They're just 4 points above the relegation zone, which is a worry, with no wins now in 5 matches for Alex Neil's side. A huge match with Cardiff City is up next, with their opponents coming off the back of a South Wales derby win and looking up the table, before a trip to another struggling side in Luton, which they will hope will provide opportunity. Hull City had won just 2 of their 26 away league games against Millwall, drawing on 5 of their last 6 EFL visits to the Den. So to walk away with all 3 points on Saturday lunchtime, a much needed boost for their side. Their second away win in a row in the Championship has been critical in their survival fight. Sellers still needs reinforcements in January, particularly on the goal scoring front, but for now, Hull sit outside the drop zone. They will look to stay there in the upcoming fixtures. They're home to QPR next before a trip to Sheffield United at Bramall Lane. QPR's teenage breakthrough, Ryan Colley, came off the substitutes bench to hand new Plymouth boss Mirel Muslik his first loss with his new side, making it 3 wins in a row for QPR in an encounter that could have been more for the visitors if not for Plymouth's keeper Daniel Grimshaw. Now, Muslik selected his second Plymouth starting lineup, making just 1 change from the team that secured a draw with Oxford United in midweek. Ryan Hardy came into the side in place of defender Brendan Galloway, with Muslik making a change to the formation, moving to 4 at the back. For the away team, Martí Cifuentes made a large number of changes to the QPR side that was well beaten at Premier League Leicester in the FA Cup last weekend. Albeit it was a similar one to the team that beat Luton last time out in the Championship. New signing Ronnie Edwards remaining in the back 5 with first choice keeper Paul Nardi, Jimmy Dunn, Morgan Fox and Kenneth Parle all returning as well. So moving on to the match, and QPR were cutting Plymouth open regularly. Daniel Grimshaw kept out Morgan Fox in the first half. Some of his best work was from close range though from Frey, 1 in either half, stopping the striker who turned and struck in the box. He excelled again shortly after half-time as he made a second save preventing Frey from scoring after Jimmy Dunn's shot had found the striker unmarked only 8 yards out. Even the goal came from an initial save from the keeper. Elias Chair fed the rebound into the path of Coley, who controlled well and struck with the outside of his boot into Plymouth's far corner, finally breaking the resistance. Sam Field had a chance to make it 2 with a clear shot just inside the area, but his left foot shot fizzed wide at the end of towards the end of the match. The result being 1-0 to QPR, well deserved for the visitors. Now, looking at the statistics with shots raining down on the Plymouth goal, Grimshaw was the difference between a larger margin alongside some missed QPR opportunities. It's 6 saves and the all for Grimshaw having returned to the team in the last 2 Championship matches. Despite Plymouth making more final third passes, they were limited to their opportunities, QPR cutting through their opponents with relative ease. Coley added his 4th Championship goal now for the season, and in all competitions, he's been coming off the bench, but as well, it's been a strong backline performance from Rangers as well. Post-match one, the Plymouth manager said, I'm very disappointed because simply we lack the desire to win the duels. Those are the basics. We had some injury doubts the last couple of days, but I don't think this was the problem. We just lacked physicality, and the difference between our players and theirs was immense in everything. Martí Cifuentes said for QPR, I'm very happy, not only for the result, but the fact it is not easy to come here and get 3 points at Plymouth's home form has been stable. We know taking chances is the difference between being high and low in the table, but the reality is that we had 5 or 6 clear chances and the keeper made some brilliant saves. Now, Plymouth have failed to win any of their last 7 league games against sides from London, scoring just 2 goals against these matches. Muslik will see firsthand now the challenge of survival with performances such as these. Despite this being their 3rd Championship loss at home, taking a look at those league statistics, it's no surprise the position that they find themselves in. There's tough matches on the horizon as well for the Green Army. Burnley visit in midweek before they take the long trek up to Sunderland next weekend. QPR had failed to win any of their last 8 away league games against Plymouth, finally ending that run and making it now 3 wins on the bounce in the Championship. Since the beginning of December, only Leeds have won more points in the Championships than QPR. The victory caps an excellent turn in form from them and a run into the top half of the Championship for the first time in 2 years. Next up for Cifuentes' side is a trip to Hull City in midweek before they welcome Sheffield Wednesday to Loftus Road. Brandon Thomas Asante's strike in the second half was enough to see off Bristol City and give Coventry the 3 points at the CBS Arena. A first goal since October for Thomas Asante was certainly overdue, but succumbed Bristol City as their first loss in 5 Championship matches. Just a single change made by Frank Lampard from their FA Cup penalty victory over Sheffield Wednesday, with Bobby Thomas dropping to the bench. Thomas had started every league game since September, but he made way for Joel Latabaudiere coming back into the team. Liam Manning named an unchanged side from their last Championship fixture in the 1-0 win against Derby County. The FA Cup saw some changes for Bristol City to enable Manning to return to the same 11. Now onto the match, and Nahki Wells had the best chance of the first half when he was put through on Oliver Dovin's goal. He scuttled across to his left and pushed past the post. At the other end, Victor Torp and Milan Van Evik were both unable to direct efforts on target, the former just outside the 18-yard box and the latter from close range after firing a shot down into the ground. Sims and Rodoni had their chances, but the stalemate was struggling to be broken. But when it came, it had quality about it. Thomas Asante fired in underside the crossbar from a tight angle after being played through by Rodoni. Dovin had kept the game level from Sam Bell, and Jamie Allen had a chance to secure the victory, but it did end in a single goal win for the Sky Blues. Now, stats-wise, Coventry were good on the ball with every single one of their starting lineup scoring above a 7 rating on the SofaScore performance. That's really good. With more final third passes, they had double the shots on target, but they took their opportunity well through Thomas Asante. The Robins had to stop the home side with more fouls and more tackles and duels, but only one statistic matters, as we always say, and that is the 1-0 scoreline. After the game, Frank Lampard spoke and said, "It was a very good result to get. I'm very pleased with the mentality and character of this team. We're missing some bodies, but players are coming in and doing their job. It wasn't a beautiful game. There was some good stuff, but some moments, some turnovers, misplaced passes and bad decisions in there as well." Liam Manning said for the Bristol City side, "It was a frustrating afternoon and a difficult game. The pitch played terribly, but in a nutshell, we didn't take our chances and they took theirs. I thought we had the better opportunities. We found it difficult quality-wise at times, but you have to try and still come away with something." So Coventry City are unbeaten in 6 Championship home matches since Mark Robins' departure in November, and this shutout against Bristol City gave the Sky Blues their 3rd consecutive clean sheet at home. Thomas Asante's second of the season will be a disappointing overall return after scoring 11 in the Championship for the Baggies last season, but the home fans will hope that this will see a boost of confidence, which a goal tends to bring. Coventry travel next to Ewood Park in midweek to face Blackburn and return home to take on Watford at the weekend. Bristol City were unbeaten in their last 5 league games against Coventry, but they could not carry on that run here. They also ended their own unbeaten recent run. The result sees the Robins in 9th place, which they've consolidated a top half position well since the Christmas period. Next up for Liam Manning's side is an away trip to Sheffield Wednesday before they welcome Blackburn Rovers on Saturday afternoon. Imran Louza hadn't scored a goal for 18 months, but his opener alongside Edo Kiamba's second half finish saw Watford beat Derby 2-0 at Pride Park and go level on points with the final playoff position. Derby hit the woodwork 3 times and couldn't get on the score sheet as they dropped 1 place to 19th. Now, the lineup for the home side, centre-back Ryan Cashin was back in the starting lineup, having been sidelined recently with a hamstring issue he picked up in mid-December. He came in place of Nat Phillips, who misses out with his own injury against Leyton Orient. Paul Warren also returned Ebu Adams, Ben Osborne and Jerry Yates into the team, with new signing Lars Jorgen Salverson only training on Thursday and not involved for this one. Tom Cleverley for the Watford team made 4 changes from the Tuesday night draw against Cardiff. He handed a debut to their new signing, James Adbankwa. Tom Delibashiri returning to the starting 11 in midfield as well, following his knee injury, which had him sidelined since October. Edo Kiambe and Rocco Vata also returning, while Georgi Chakvatadze missing out with a slight hamstring issue. Into the match, and Kwadwo Bar created the goal just 4 minutes in this one. He flew down the right-hand side. Derby didn't really deal with his cut-back pass, falling straight into the pass of the Moroccan Louza for him to scramble home for the lead. An incredible attack saw Derby hit the crossbar twice in the same move. Mendes Lang crashed the frame before Colin Jackson went acrobatic, sending his overhead kick also against the bar. Jonathan Bond, who has really stepped up in the absence of Daniel Backman, made two good saves either side of half-time, both from Cashin and Mendes Lang. Ebu Adams, he hit the woodwork a third time for Derby, striking a post, and Musa Sissoko got in on the act as well with one for Watford, also hitting the woodwork. But it was Sissoko who created Watford's second, linking up well with Vacuum Bayo and finding KM Bay coolly sliding the ball home. And then Matty Pollock went on to have the third ruled out for offside, but Watford will clearly be happy with their 2-0 victory. Now, for this one, Derby and Paul Warne must really be wondering how they didn't score in this one, hitting the woodwork 3 times, 15 shots as well, all coming inside the box, yet only 4 on target. Some days in front of goals just doesn't happen. Watford also created their own fair share of opportunities with 6 on target, despite as many final third passes and possession as they hit hard and fast on the counter-attack. Cashin and Elder were good at the back for Derby, while Lauza went away with the best performance score for Watford. Now, on to the managers and their press conference. Paul Warne said, "I could hear the frustration at the final whistle. I understand that. I'm a big boy. I didn't think we played that bad, to be fair. It's always about chances. You have to take your opportunities. They're a really athletic side that caused us no end of problems on the counter-attack and could have scored another." Tom Cleverley said for Watford, it was fantastic away performance and it's the clean sheet element that really pleases me most. I thought James Abankwa came in for his debut after training for 2 days and was fantastic. The whole defensive unit really deserved that today, and especially Jonathan Bond. So Derby County have lost their last 4 league games, which is their worst run since May 2021, worrying Derby fans looking over their shoulder. The FA Cup defeat on penalties has compounded things as their boos rang around Pride Park at the end of this one. The Rams are now just 1 point ahead of the relegation zone and without a goal in 2 matches. Doesn't get any easier for them next either. Sunderland at home next before a key battle towards the bottom of the division as they travel to Cardiff City. Now, Watford have now won each of their last 4 league games now against Derby County. But in this season, this 2-0 win has ended a run of 4 without a win from Tom Cleverley's side. Kayembe's 7th of the season certainly helped as he cemented himself as the second top scorer for the Hornets behind Bayo. Can Watford build off the back of this victory as they face Preston at home in midweek, followed by a trip to Coventry at the weekend? The Matt Bloomfield Luton Town era began with a goalless draw at home to Preston North End at Kenilworth Road, ending a 4-game losing streak for Luton, but Preston dug in to take a point away from them. Now, Matt Bloomfield selected his first Luton Town team as the new manager coming in after Rob Edwards left the club, looking to kick Luton in a new direction. Daiki Hashioka, Tom Crouch, Jordan Clark and Jacob Brown all coming into the side. Now, Paul Heckingbottom made a total of 5 changes from the FA Cup clash against Charlton for Preston. New loan signing Jayden Magoma was also on the bench. Kane Kessler-Hayden, Liam Lindsay, Ryan Ledson, Ali McCann and Sam Greenwood all coming in. Lewis Gibson was also making his full league debut for Preston. Now into the match, Jordan Clark had the only real attempt on target before the break, the first of just 4 in total, but his left foot strike was easily saved by keeper Freddie Woodman. Carlton Morris did have a close range strike saved, but Bloomfield's side were denied a moral boosting win and dropped to 22nd in the table. Not a lot to talk about with this one. So Luton looked the most likely of the two. They were dominating the ball. They had the most goal attempts, but goals have been a difficult return this season for Luton. They are struggling in front of the net. Preston, however, offered very little themselves going forward. Just 35 passes in the final third and only 3 touches in Luton's box, showing the tough afternoon that they had. Defenders, of course, amongst the best ranked on the performance score. Hashioka taking the top score with a 7.9 rating. Now, Matt Bloomfield said afterwards, coming off a run of 5 straight defeats, it was nice to get that, the first one in 12 in all competitions. We had a good out-of-possession shape. We didn't quite have the right touch in the final third. We'd have liked to have created more and shot more, but we understand where we are as a team. There's a lot of work to do, but in terms of a foundation, I have to say I'm pleased. Paul Heckingbottom said for Preston, it became a little bit tricky when Luton made the change, so we didn't know what team they would pick or how they would set up tactically, but we just concentrated on ourselves. At times, we've not managed games away from home well enough, and that's cost us points. So I'd love if it was the benchmark for every single away game between now and the end of the season in terms of the mentality and the approach. So Luton Town had lost each of their last 4 league games into this one. The draw at home was not able to prevent the Hatters dropping into the relegation zone, though. Bloomfield certainly will be looking to instill confidence in his side and quickly. Including caretakers and interims now, none of the last 7 Luton Town managers have won the first game of their spell in charge since Andy Orford's Luton beaten Exeter back in December 2015. Up next for Luton is Oxford United as they travel there, and following up at the weekend, Millwall will travel to Kenilworth Road. Preston North End have won just one of their last 17 Championship away games, beating Cardiff 2-0 in December, which is seeing them sit in the bottom half of the division. After recent losses away against West Brom and QPR, however, it was a stronger defensive and goalkeeping display from Paul Heckingbottom's side, who despite their league position sit 11th in the table for goals conceded. Preston will face Millwall away from home in midweek before they return to Deepdale to take on Michael Carrick's Middlesbrough. Oxford United continued their unbeaten run under manager Gary Rowett with a great win over Blackburn Rovers at the Kassam Stadium, maintaining that strong home season run. Cameron Brannigan's free kick was the difference, his only second goal of the season, with his first coming on the opening day. Now, Gary Rowett made 2 changes from the team that drew Plymouth in midweek. He handed a debut to their new Polish centre-back, Michael Helik, who only signed on Friday, coming in for the injured Sam Long. In attack, Sariki Dembele, who used to sign during his time at Bristol City, actually replaced Matt Phillips. A double change from Eustace for his Blackburn side, having made impacts off the bench against Portsmouth in midweek. Maktar Gay and Amario Kozia-Dubry were rewarded with starts. In attack, Darius Tolan, Ryan Hedges dropped to the bench, while John Buckley also started for his 150th league appearance of his career. Moving on to the match, and chances were few and far between in the first half. The game certainly kicked into life in the second, though. Ainsley Pear's the busiest of the 2 goalkeepers, but both were busy in truth. Mark Harris had the ball in the net for the hosts after 10 minutes, reacting quickest to bundle home after Ruben Rodriguez had stung the palms of Pears, only for their celebration to be cut short, with the linesman calling it offside. Buckley had a chance that was inches over. Andreas Weimann also saw Jamie Cummins' leg deny him. The breakthrough, though, came just after the hour mark. Callum Britton's shoulder barge on Dembele resulted in a yellow card and a free kick about 5 yards outside the penalty area. But Brannigan's free kick was really well struck, unstoppable, arrowing into the far side netting, a fantastic strike to win a football match. Onto the statistics, and Oxford, bottom of the table for shots overall in the championships, did register 17 at home to Blackburn, but it was only their free kick that found its way through. Blackburn's XG should have seen them close to a goal, even if one of the formula graphics having a bit of a wobbly there. 4 saves from Cummings and 6 from Pears, a strong goalkeeper performance, keeping the score down in this one. Gary Rowett said, "I was super impressed with the players today. I thought it would be a different type of challenge. A team in the top 6 coming here off the back of a good result. So it's one of those games I was quite keen to see how we handled it, and I was impressed. I thought we started really brightly and we looked like we had a threat, and there were lots of quality moments against a tough side who don't give many chances away." John Eustace spoke and said, "It was a frustrating afternoon for us. I didn't think we started very well. We rode our luck in the first 15 minutes, but after that, I thought we grew into it and played some good stuff." Sonny Tronstad, he got an injury, of course, in the first half, done something to his hamstring, so I have to take a look at that. He's been the player of the season up to now, and you can see when he goes off the pitch, we were a little bit different. Now, Oxford United had lost each of their last 3 league games against Blackburn Rovers, conceding more than 2 goals in each of those defeats. So this was a welcome result against a strong performing Championship side this season. They've now won 3 in a row matches, matching their opening 3 games at the Kassam Stadium this season. They picked up 7 wins at home in all, which has been an important fortress in their above expectations 15th current table position. Their home run will be put to the test again on Tuesday against Luton Town before they head back on the road to take on Stoke City. Blackburn Rovers had lost just one of their last 12 league games against Oxford, a 3-1 defeat back in December 1990. But this one, they'll be worried about the fact they've lost Tronstad to injury. He's been a top performer for the club so far this season. They've obviously had Lewis Baker also recalled as well to Stoke. They're going to want a midfield that continues to match Eustace's demands. Can Blackburn get back on track at home to Coventry in midweek ahead of a trip to Bristol City the following weekend? A double from Matt Ritchie saw Portsmouth come from behind against Middlesbrough to keep up their fine recent home form at Fratton Park. The match at Fratton Park, though, was delayed by 35 minutes, dealing with a medical emergency involving a spectator in the crowd. Portsmouth later announced had sadly passed away. Such sad news, thoughts of prayers, of course, with that person's family. John Mousinho made 3 changes to the Portsmouth starting lineup. Jordan Williams and Matt Ritchie came back into the team, and a starting debut for Isaac Hayden, who was on loan from Newcastle United. For Middlesbrough, striker Emmanuel Latte-Lath started at Portsmouth despite being linked to MSL club Atlanta United. The US side have submitted apparently a £16 million bid for the Ivory Coast international, but Latte-Lath was named in the squad and starting lineup nonetheless. No Daxdale or McGree in the squad at all for Borough, both picking up knocks in training in the week. 7 changes in all from the FA Cup selection. Once the game did get underway, both Latte-Lath and Callum Lang troubled each other's goalkeepers with early testers. It was Latte-Lath, though, who opened the scoring amidst his transfer links away, of course. Delano Bergzal played him through and he rounded Schmidt before slotting in for the Borough lead. 9 minutes into the second half, though, it was level. It was Ritchie profiting from a Freddie Potts assist to bring the game level. And Josh Murphy had a chance shooting wide for Pompey before Ritchie struck his second and the winner, scoring with a right-footed effort, hitting the far post on its way in for a 2-1 victory for the home side. So statistics-wise, it was a great performance from 35-year-old Matt Ritchie. He's double unexpected, though, as his tally's now at 3 this season, so he's more than doubled that. Borough will feel that he could and should have taken at least something from this game. Their XG would support this. 83% of their shots inside the box as well, but only Latte-Lath to show for. Ritchie earned his 8.8 performance score there, but also a good game for Portsmouth's Freddie Potts. And the post-match reaction from John Mussini, I think it's one of our best wins of the season. With all the circumstances and the fact I think Middlesbrough are one of the best sides in the league, we watched them tear sides apart. Going 1-0 down and dealing with the hammer blow of Wednesday night, to pick ourselves up and put that level of performance in was superb. Michael Carrick said, "We let the game get away from us again. It's something we've let happen far too often recently. Coming here, how they play and how they make the game feel. I thought we dealt with it first half and the start of the second half with chances to go 2-0 up, which we didn't take, and the game's always on a knife edge." So looking at the dashboard, Plymouth have won just one of their last 10 games against Middlesbrough, a 2-1 victory at Fratton Park in 2008 back in the Premier League. So a well overdue win for Pompey. Portsmouth are now unbeaten in their last 6 home league games. It's been a real strength in putting them in a position to at least challenge for survival when they looked well gone. If they could just find a result on the road, that really would strengthen the claim as well. It's Stoke at home up next for them before a trip to West Bromwich Albion. Middlesbrough had drawn 4 of their last 5 league games, but that defeat sees them slip out of the playoff positions on goal difference. Emmanuel Latte-Lath is under heavy interest in the transfer window. Atlanta United, as we mentioned, as he scored his 11th goal of the championship season and is such a key part of the Borough scoring effort, so it would be difficult to replace if he did go. Next up, though, for Borough, it's a return for Tony Mowbray as they welcome West Brom before travelling to Preston at the week. A brace from fullback Harrison Burrows ensured that the Blades took advantage of Burnley and Sunderland's Friday night draw with a 2-0 win against Norwich City. One in either half, including a second half penalty, was enough to see off a Norwich side who've been on a 4-match unbeaten run going to Bramall Lane. Chris Wilder made 2 changes to his team from the last league game against Watford for the Norwich match. Andre Brooks and Ryan One dropping out of the 11, with Sam McCullum and Ryan Brewster coming into the side. For the away side, Callum Fisher earning a start in midfield for the first time for Norwich City, with both Jose Cordoba and Marcelino Nunes now sidelined for multiple weeks with injuries. Also missing out was Amankwah Forson. Thorpe had to name a couple of under-21 players, 6 in fact, on his bench. Now, in the match, the opener from Burrows took advantage of a loose clearance. He controlled and fired home via both posts to give Sheffield United the lead. Gustavo Harmer then went close to a second with an audacious attempt from near the halfway line, which was tipped over by a backpedaling Norwich keeper Angus Gunn. The visitors began the second half well, but they were derailed by Burrows' 4th goal of the season, thanks to a penalty, which was certainly clumsy, debatable potentially. Sam McCullum collided with Ben Chazane. Burrows slammed into the corner, and if not for Gunn making a good save at the end from Callum O'Hare, close effort, it could have been 3. So statistics-wise, 22 shots with 6 on target for Norwich, brought about 5 saves from Norwich keeper Gunn, who did well to keep the score down. The Blades were happy to concede the large percentage of possession, but they carried a much larger attacking threat than their opponents all afternoon. The absence of Boyer's sights is certainly not helping the attacking outputs of Norwich. He's serving his 6-match ban in his absence, and now Norwich failed to register a single shot on target. In the post-match reaction, Chris Wilder said he thought the team was excellent from start to finish against a dangerous opposition. Our absolute weakest, we produced this. We got a couple back today and we lost a couple. I thought we controlled the game, created some really good chances, a couple of great goals and opportunities. Johannes Hoff-Thorup said of Norwich, we expected to be more on the ball because that's the way they approach the game. So that's not that important for me. I expected us to dominate, but I also expected us to be able to take better care of the chances we got into. I'm frustrated and disappointed about that because I think there was something for us in this game tonight, and the goals we conceded from are down to our own sloppiness in two vital moments. Sheffield United are now unbeaten in their last 9 league games against Norwich City, picking up 6 wins across that period. Having not won in their previous 2 at Bramall Lane, it was vital for the Blades to get back on track with the pace at the top of the Championship as they fight for promotion. Next up for Sheffield United, it's a trip to South Wales to face Swansea City before they welcome Hull City and Ruben Selles to Bramall Lane. Norwich City had won their last 2 league games. They were halted here by the Blades' strong home record, but they remain in the top half in 11th place. The Canaries now have 9 wins, 9 draws and 9 losses this season, but of course 7 of those 9 losses have come away from Carrow Road. Unfortunately, it's an away match again, though, for Norwich. Tricky one in midweek against high-flying Leeds United before they return back home at the weekend to face Swansea City. Tony Mowbray was announced the new West Bromwich Albion manager and saw his baggy side pick up another draw with their 14th of the season against Stoke City. The Potters had recalled Nathan Lowe from Walsall, and his 9th-minute goal was cancelled out by Grady Diangana's equaliser. Now, looking at the lineups, the home side, Chris Brunt took his final match in charge as interim manager, making 3 changes from the last Championship fixture against Swansea. Josh Myers' injury forcing changes as Tom Fellows, Grady Diangana and Alex Maurer all coming into this starting 11. Now, for the away side, just a single change by Mark Robins as top scorer Thomas Cannon was recalled by Leicester as Stoke reacted with the recalling of striker Nathan Lowe. Lowe had scored 18 goals in 30 matches in all competitions for Walsall this season, as the only difference from the side that knocked Sunderland out in the FA Cup. Into the match, and 9 minutes in, Lowe was on hand to stick out an instinctive foot on Junior Chamadou's effort headed wide, too close for Alex Palmer to do anything to open Lowe's account up upon his return. The Baggies, who are missing injured top scorer Josh Madger, did have one great chance to level before the break, but the chance fell to midfielder Jason Malumbi, unmarked 8 yards out, and he screwed his right foot shot wide. Torbjorn Hegem and Tom Fellows had opportunities but failed to get their efforts on target, and then the equaliser came from Johnston. His cross from the left found Diangana getting to the ball at the near post to prod home for his 2nd of the season. Johansson thwarted Malumbi late on as the points were shared. So statistics-wise, 23 shots for West Brom, but only 4 on target will be frustrating. While 8 of them were blocked by Stoke, the Baggies had the danger of Mikey Johnson all afternoon from the left. Lewis Baker, back from his loan period at Blackburn, was one of the Potters' strongest performers in midfield. They'll take a point as they look to build upon under their new manager. Victor Johansson has made the most saves in the 24-25 Championship season with 101, and he's also prevented the most goals in the division this term, according to the XG, making 3 saves in this one as well. Interim boss Chris Brunt's post-match comments: we did more than enough to win, but if you can't win, then make sure you don't lose. Looking back, we could have won this one and the Swansea game too. Obviously, losing Josh Madger was a blow, but if you want to win games, you have to score goals, and we missed too many chances. Mark Robbins said, I've got to be happy coming here getting a point. You can tell what a good side they are and why they're up at this end of the league. Nathan Lowe took his chance really well. I'm so pleased for him. He's come back full of confidence and scoring goals for Walsall, and they've obviously done a good job with him. He's only 19 and he has so much potential. So looking at the dashboard, West Brom are now unbeaten across their last 6 EFL matches against Stoke City, 3 wins and 3 draws. Despite this being the 14th draw of the Baggy season, West Brom haven't had won their last 3 home games going into this one. But 1-1, of course, is the favoured scoreline of the season for West Brom. Tony Mowbray returning, that's a massive, massive thing for West Brom. His second spell, of course, after his last managerial spell at Birmingham ended due to his poor health. So all the best for Mowbray. There's a chance of playoffs there as well this season, with West Brom currently in 6th. Next up for West Brom, they head to Middlesbrough, of course, a former club of Mowbray's, before a home match against Portsmouth. Stoke City have won just 3 of their last 10 away matches against West Brom, failing to score more than 1 goal in all but one of those matches during that time. So it's 3 draws in a row and 4 unbeaten for Stoke, suggesting new manager Mark Robbins is starting to get his side into the battle and can hopefully for their side, steer clear of the relegation zone if you're a Potters fan. Picking points up at places like West Brom will add to that confidence. Portsmouth away next on the horizon for the Potters before a home fixture against Oxford United. 3 goals for Leeds and a well-deserved 3 points against Sheffield Wednesday saw Daniel Farke's men return to the top of the Championship on Sunday afternoon. Manor Solomon, Lagi Ramazani and Ayo Tanaka doing the damage at Ellen Road. Now, Leeds made one change from their last Championship match away at Hull City, with Sam Byram in for Max Rober in defence, Farke lining up with his 4-2-3-1 formation. Now, the away side question marks over whether Shay Charles would start, given that he's been recently recalled by his parent side Southampton, but he was selected by Danny Roll. The manager opting to move Josh Windass a bit further forward. Into the match, it was the perfect start for Leeds. Manor Solomon struck home on 3 minutes. It was the Owls keeper, James Beadle. He saw the ball squirm from his grasp as he looked to cut out a pass to Brendan Aronson. The closest Wednesday came to a leveller probably was when Ilian Meslier got down to turn Jedi Gassimer's low 20-yard around the post. Substitute Lagi Ramazani, though, made sure the points late on. Thumping low finish from the edge of the box after making space for himself. And Tanaka's wonderfully improvised flick from Ramazani's shot added an extra goal to the scoreline. Leeds 3-0 winners. Wednesday did compete in this one, but there was certainly a gap in quality with Leeds flying high, not just today, but across the season. Tanaka and Solomon, a constant threat, recognised in both their outputs and the SofaScore performance rating. For Sheffield Wednesday, Beadle will have to have felt he could have done better in goal at 5.6, not great, but mistakes happen and Leeds made the most of their shots on target. Now, Daniel Farke said in his post-match reaction, "I'm pretty happy with the game today. They're the brave side who play with intensity. It's a well-deserved win because we returned to our best defensive play. Overall, it was a convincing win and a return back to perfect defensive behaviour. It was a mature performance. It's our 15th clean sheet this season, and I expect us to defend well. We had a proper performance in response," said Danny Roll. He said between the first and second goal, "The reaction from my team from the first goal was good. We changed the pressing at halftime. Small details, but it worked well. When you see the scoreline 3-0, it looks like a huge gap. When you play against the best team in the league, they can do this." Leeds have now won each of their last 3 league games against Sheffield Wednesday without conceding a goal, and they have passed the 50 goals scored in the Championship mark so far this season. It also extends Leeds' unbeaten record against sides from Yorkshire, now sitting in their last 18 league games. Next up for Farke's team, it's a home match against Norwich City before an anticipated clash away at Turf Moor against Burnley. Sheffield Wednesday had lost just one of their last 4 league games against Leeds United. They'd kept clean sheets on their last 2 visits to Ellen Road, but conceding is something the Owls have been doing pretty regularly lately. That's now 13 in the last 5 games, a stat that Danny Roll will want to address quickly. Wednesday at home to Bristol City in midweek before an away match to QPR. So here is the Championship table. Leeds United, of course, top of the table. Sheffield United sitting in second. They've got a 2-point gap to Burnley in third, then Sunderland, Blackburn and West Brom making up the playoff positions. Ignore Matchday 26. That is actually Matchday 27. Portsmouth, Luton and Plymouth Argyle are in the bottom 3, despite the win, of course, for Portsmouth. But it's very, very, very tight down there indeed. Next up, it's Matchday 28. Some really, really exciting fixtures. We've got Blackburn versus Coventry, Derby, Sunderland, Hull versus QPR, Middlesbrough, West Brom, Oxford, Luton, Swansea, Sheffield United, Watford, Preston and Millwall, Cardiff, Leeds, Norwich, Portsmouth, Stoke, Sheffield Wednesday, Bristol City and Plymouth versus Burnley. All in midweek. Going to be very, very exciting indeed. So all that's left is for me to say thank you for watching this video. Please support the channel by liking and subscribing, and also check out the videos on the screen now if you want to watch more of my content and of the Absolute Football podcast covering EFL on a Thursday night with their live podcast with Charlotte and the team. Anything from Championship all the way down to National League North and South. But for now, I'll catch you on the next one.